last few years? Trevor looked away, because he knew the answer was 0. Paul was quite talented, and his art fairly inventive, but he was not particularly ambitious or motivated. He did not make much money from his sculptures. Julie accepted that, as long as he paid the court-ordered child support. Paul could do this because of a substantial inheritance from a grandmother, one that allowed him to lead an artist's life. Paul paid his share of the child support on time and with no grumblings, but still, Julie wished he'd be a stronger role model for his son. Sam Talbot would never replace Paul as a father, nor would he ever try. But with his kindness, maturity, and stability, Sam was sure to be important in Trevor's life. As a high school history teacher, Sam was not exactly rolling in the dough, but the way he loved her and the way she loved him made Julie feel like the richest woman in the world. Julie set a hand on Trevor's delicate shoulder. Her son might have been obstinate, disrespectful at times, a little mouthy, but he was still her pride and joy. "Look, kiddo, you're here for the day," Julie said. "So do your homework and try to make the best of it. And I hope you brought a good book, because you're not going to be glued to your electronics all day." Julie tugged on her white lab coat so it fit better over her beige blouse. Everything fit better since she'd lost the weight gained during the divorce. She told people it was diet and exercise, but really the weight came off after she jettisoned the stress. For that, Julie had motorcycles to thank, a Honda Rebel 250 to be precise, which Sam, an avid rider, had bought for her as an engagement gift. Julie was looking forward to their upcoming ride to the Berkshires and showing Sam the new hip-hugging leather pants she'd bought online from Cycle Gear. But the weekend was several days away, which meant plenty of time for Julie to work, look after Trevor, and feel like she was shortchanging both. Since her separation from Paul, Julie had come to know a lot of single, career-oriented mothers who tried to be all and do all. Her advice to them, whenever asked, "Go ride a motorcycle." The moms might not lose the worry and doubt, she explained, but they'd have a blast forgetting some of their troubles for a while. Julie's first patient of the day was Shirley Mitchell, a 77-year-old woman with a nasty case of pneumonia to go along with the initial stages of peripheral artery disease. Despite her illness, Shirley had a fairly decent quality of life. This could not be said for many of Julie's critically ill patients in the 33-bed unit, who sometimes endured debilitating and costly treatments in order to squeeze out only a few more months of life. Julie was an advocate for death with dignity. She wrote papers and frequently spoke at conferences with the goal of bringing about policy change. Self-determination was a fundamental right, and the courts were beginning to agree. It was coming to healthcare whether the providers liked it or not. High-profile cases, like that of Brittany Maynard, the 29-year-old woman dying of brain cancer who ended her suffering on her own terms, would continue to be a force for change. Death with dignity laws did not, as some critics said, kill people who did not wish to die. Julie could produce 30 years of data as proof. She, and others who thought like her, wanted to take government out of the equation and let the patient and the patient's doctor come to a decision on what was best. The option to have an option was what Julie fought for, not some death mandate, as her opponents feared. Her activism, of course, was controversial among her colleagues, who viewed her stance as anathema to their profession. It violates the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. It demeans the value of human life. It will lead to abuse or reduce palliative care options. All valid arguments, but Julie believed that even those most vocal in their opposition had at some point wrestled with doubt while helping to keep alive a supremely sick patient who wished only to die. Sometimes dead is better.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.